found AHO Radio. We're authentic human outliers coming together to help heal the fear of being authentic, to bring back genuine human conversation. No hype, no sensationalism, just honest talk about the critical issues affecting society, affecting humankind. And now, here are the hosts of AHO Radio, Millennial Adam T. Cummings with Boomers John Krotec and Bill Protzmann.
We are AHO Radio Network. This is the inaugural conversation, I guess, and
Yep.
something that we've been talking about for several months now, and it's finally coming to fruition. It's taken us a while, but it feels really good to be here. It feels timely, it feels necessary, and let's just talk about why we are here. Why the AHO Radio Network?
Exactly. I love your vision for this. I was listening to our podcast, which I don't know, we did in the fall, I guess, maybe of 2019. It's been a while. And I'm listening to that. I'm like, man, this is the guy I really want to work with. I want to do something together, And here we are at last.
It's amazing. We all talk about the universe, but it's amazing, law of attraction and quantum physics and all this stuff, and which is all very real. It's amazing how things start to fall into place when I think you do things for all the right reasons. Let me ask you this, Bill, then. What does mission mean to you?
Golly. So I come from a military family, and I'm fortunate, at least in the last few generations, we only had a couple people serving in combat. But I learned a little bit about what mission is from that experience. My uncle was a boomer pilot, flew over Vietnam. And one Christmas, the president started the bombing of Hanoi. And over this Christmas holiday, all the rest of us who were home were hearing about these nightly missions. And I don't know how many sorties were flown, how many lives were lost. Certainly, my uncle saw people he knew personally shot down next to him. There's an aspect of doing whatever it takes because you've received orders that's involved in that kind of a mission. And I want to contrast that with something that comes closer to home, which is a more personal mission. Like, I want to be a good father. These are things that are sort of long-term objectives. And there's steps along the way, goals and objectives. We've all heard that stuff. But the mission is like the thing that pulls you toward an ultimate destination. And yeah, war is a good way of looking at that. And video games are a good way of experiencing that in virtual reality. But there is something that is deeper. That's your connection to why you are, what's your meaning. And for me, mission and meaning are so intimately connected that I just can't separate them. You can do something because you're told to do it, and that's fine. Or you can do something because it's deeply connected to who you are as a person and what your purpose is in life. And that, for me, is more the mission than the tasks that I have to do to accomplish an objective.
Honestly, is exactly what you just described. It's what's in your heart. And I think that I probably had several different missions throughout my lifetime and have had several different things happen that have changed that mission. So there are some people that doggedly hang on to their mission and they one boot in front of the other and they keep going and they keep going and they keep going, and then they finally reach the promised land. Now that's just a figure of speech, but and then you have others that are constantly changing their missions, adapt and overcome,
Yeah.
Now I'm on to plan B and C and D. So I think mission, it's important to have one for sure, but it's also important for you personally to identify for yourself what it is. I don't think that we need to be inauthentic and wear the mask and have people mold those missions for us. I think that everybody is here for a purpose and they're entitled to have their own mission. I think you have to look really deep inside of your heart. What is your purpose? What are you trying to accomplish in your life? Do you just want to be here to exist and pay bills? Do you believe in life ever after? Do you think once you reach here, it's the next step to here? What do you do if your mission changes? How do you respond to that? When hardships come, are you diligent and have enough perseverance to see that mission all the way through?
You work for yourself like I do. Your personal and your business mission are very closely aligned. It might not be that way if you're working for somebody else, or if you're working in a large organization, or if you're in the military. My son's in the military, and his mission of joining the military has changed. Because when back in the day, before he went through boot camp, it was all about, yeah, let's get out there and fix the world. And it's been a sobering experience for him to be in service that way, because it's brought him into connection with other missions that are bigger in the world. That they have a lot more to do with how to create a sort of a stable environment in the world than they have to do with breaking things and hurting people. And that's, I think, new. So oftentimes we've got to be willing to put our authenticity on the line and say, okay, yes, it looks like this mission and my meaning are two different things, and make a conscious choice about serving the mission because you have to pay the bills or whatever the purpose of the mission is. And in that same moment to consciously say, and my authenticity is still intact. I don't have to sell that out. I can still be this person, although I might have to wear a different mask, to do my job than I do when I'm most myself. So this AHO Radio is about reaching people when they're most themselves, whatever that might be. So AHO Radio is all about allowing us to connect in safety at that place, at that point of trauma, and to really feel into that in a way that doesn't make us hurt more, but that allows us to be that at that deep level, at least for a little while, and to find if there's any inspiration that others can use in that place. I think that's typical of our conversations. John, we've done that over the months that we've been talking about this. And
We absolutely have.
It's so important. That's a really important work that, you don't need a therapist sitting in the chair. You just need to show up as a real man, a real woman, whatever your gender, a real person with what you have, and offer that.
When you see somebody that's totally on their game, something that you can tell that there's an aura around them like stardust or something, I believe that those are people that are totally in alignment with their life purpose, what's in their heart, what they breathe and smell in their DNA. And I think that you can spot people a mile away that are inauthentic. It doesn't take long. It's almost like antenna come out. Now, I haven't always had that inauthenticity radar. And the reason why is because I didn't give myself enough credit or enough value because of the shameful things that happened to me, that we go on this life quest to seek the self-approval from all these inauthentic people. You kind of know there's a red flag there, but you do it anyways. And so I believe, and you mentioned this, I believe that it's the closer we become to being authentic selves, the more we align with others that are like-minded.
We spend a lot of our early life putting on the masks that we want to have, and then a lot of our later life kind of figuring out how to take them off. There's this great display. You've seen people who paint the masks. They do like a plaster cast of their face, and then they paint it. Yeah, and someone did that at an NGO near me, Veterans Village of San Diego, and there's a fantastic display because the trick, of course, was to make your plaster cast and then paint the outside of it the way that you think the world sees you, and paint the inside of it the way you see yourself. So these masks are displayed so you can see the front of them, and then there's a mirror hanging behind them so you can see the back of it. And I think that's just the metaphor for how we are in the world. We tend to go out there with these masks on. We'd be this way in one environment and that way in another environment. But internally, like the authentic stuff that's inside us, what's going on in there? What are the windows that look in on that? And it isn't trendy to allow yourself to be that vulnerable.
I think that it begins with, with this vulnerability that you talk about. I think that it really begins with finding common ground. And, and then once you find the common ground, then you can open up, you can find out that you're truly not alone. My own case personally was that childhood sexual assault guy. Talk about guilt and shame, and resiliency and all those things that we talk about that help us to get through these things. And then later on in life, an alcohol-induced motor vehicle accident where yours truly sustained a head injury. We called it TBI, and a whole set of other issues were brought to me along with that spiraled everything. Just so people know, whatever you're going through, you are not alone. There's almost 8 billion people here on the planet, and some people have been going through exactly what you're going through. And there are guys and gals out there like us that would like to discuss these things and to help others along who will grow from each other. Childhood sexual assault is not fun. Drinking and driving leads to bad things. Traumatic brain injuries can change the trajectory of your life. And I'm living proof that you can get through it. But what we'd like to do is we'd like to talk to you and find out who you are and discuss the things that can hamper people from living fulfilled lives, or things that we just need to discuss that need to be out there. Like you said, gender affiliation or whatever. These are things that affect the human condition, and through understanding and compassion and discussion, without the sensationalism or the dogma or the judgment, we can create a fertile ground for something that will help perhaps millions of others.
And here we are in the middle of a giant reset button with coronavirus out there, and people wondering, well, what do I do, right? How do I do this? And it's a great thing to be wondering, because it's not just about a response to a worldwide pandemic. It's about an internal response. What is it that really matters to me? And moments like this, which may last a while, it may be months like this, are giving us an opportunity to say what really matters, what's really important. My family is really important. Sustaining my family is really important. My health is really important. What does life look like on the other side, and how will I inhabit the other side of this pandemic? What will it look like then? And it's going to be different. Whatever it was before, it's going to be different. We know that for sure, but we don't know exactly what that difference is. We just know that we have to go there. And why not go there together? This notion of individual effort, in one sense, is so important, because you do have to make that individual effort to know yourself and to bring your best self and to drop the masks and to be as authentic as you can and be as vulnerable as you can and all that. That's quite trendy to hear all that stuff. But what does it really mean to do that? Well, what it really means is, and the way that you measure that, is your success in connecting with other people, like you were talking about. Is this other person across the table or on the other side of Zoom someone who is authentic, who has something that syncs up with what my authenticity brings to the table? And what with that connection can we do that's so much more than we could do alone? And we're being challenged right now to get out of our individual space and to join up in a way that lets us exponentialize what we can do, rather than just, saying, look at me, I'm the world's biggest YouTube influencer. It should be, look at us, look what we've accomplished by working together to move the ball. And the ball we're moving here, so if you're listening to this, folks, the ball we're moving here is authenticity. We want to move that and get that deeper and create connections around that are durable, because we need them. Oh my gosh, do we need them? We're at the limit of what we can do by ourselves.
I think that this coronavirus is a universe reset button, to make us really think about what's truly important. And you can see all the mechanisms in play, how media responded, how governments have responded, how certain individuals have responded. And, you can make your own call and, what you think about those things. But something that you touched upon, and I think it's important to mention this, you can go to any bookstore or go online, and the self-help category is like huge, and it's growing. There's always another book coming out, and one of the things that, and bless all of those people that they want to take what's worked for them and they want to skin it down and put it a book that you can read and understand, and perhaps find your own way to glory, right? I think it's great. There's, we're both writers. We know that. But one thing that's interesting that I always found in a lot of these books was how some would say how easy it is, just do this and everything will happen. And for somebody that had been through some of the things I had been through, it just wasn't that easy.
No, it's
And
not
so,
easy, man.
get real with people. All I'm saying, anybody that's listening, it's not easy to change the way you have been living your life when a lot of it is rooted in traumatic experiences, in social conditioning, in the rules and regulations. If you were raised in Eastern Bloc nation in Europe, you finally have all this freedom. You're going to have a set of values that are different, and it may not be easy to conform. Have you ever heard of like institutional prisoners, convicted felons that have spent years and years and years and years in prison, and then they get out, they've served their time, and then they're right back in again. And because they're comfortable in that space, it wasn't easy for them.
Yeah.
The
Same
support,
thing,
yeah.
transitioning veterans, same kind of thing.
It's
You're
not
4, 8, whatever, you come out and it's a different world. And,
being authentic it's a challenge, because we do wear these masks at certain times. I'm going to speak differently around my Army buddies that I might speak at a dinner table with a bunch of other people. But being authentic is the most difficult thing that we can do. And it takes an amount of vulnerability that some people are more comfortable with than others. But with practice, and I believe in true belief in wanting to reach that place, I believe that it's possible. But it's not, we're not here to sugarcoat anything. And I think it's important to understand that if you're truly out, if you're listening, if you're watching Bill and me, and you really, really, really are on this trajectory to find out what your life purpose is, and you've been living your life a certain way, it's going to take work. You're going to make mistakes, but you can do it if you continue onward with that particular mission embedded in your heart. When I was in the 3rd grade and I had that episode happen to me, that event, I got to tell you, I was wise enough in the 3rd grade to know that there was a social stigma with that type of an event, and I never reached out for help. And it forced me at times to live the most inauthentic life that I've ever had. I was crushed inside. I was basically a 3rd grader up until 52 years old. I masked it very well. I was successful by the conditions of the world, society. I owned my home. I bought vehicles. I paid my bills, fed my family, clothed my kids. But inside, I was anything but successful. I still drank too much at times. I overspent. I'd be angry and resentful at times, which is not who I am. But because of the mold I had made for myself and living my life in such an inauthentic manner, those things start to manifest themselves. Drinking and driving at 52 years old, I become so good at it at times that it became a second nature at times. I'm not going to say that I was drinking all the time, but when I would go out, just, hey, I can do this. This is no problem. It becomes a problem when you put yourself behind the wheel of a car with your thinking impaired, which happens after one drink. And it's not really you driving that car. It's some guy that's been drinking alcohol. But what it created in my life was a major reset, a major opportunity to, John, I'm going to give you this little thing called a TBI, and I'm going to reset you. and you're going to have to live your life in an authentic manner. So something that I kept hidden, Bill, for 42 years, and I want people to know the backstory, suddenly came to light. And when I came out with the childhood sexual assault story, which is what happened, it blew me away how many men and women in private messaging on various social media said, hey, thanks for telling your story. Thanks for being vulnerable. Thanks for being real, genuine, authentic. Oh, and by the way, when I was 9 years old at Uncle Billy's house, this happened. Or when I was in high school, the gym coach did this. I was absolutely blown away by the number of people that contacted me, and some of them in some very high positions, many of them still struggling with very similar stories. And when I went through my 27 weeks of cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the first things I learned was that we're not alone. So I guess my point is, everybody needs a mission, whether, like you say, Bill, whether it's down here or up here, everybody has to have a life purpose. I don't think we're just here to breathe and drink water and grow up and die. I think we're here to be part of what you said, this global community, and find ways to build each other up. And though we may not all agree, you know, what happened in the Hatfields and the McCoys because of a fence line, if they had just talked to each other, there wouldn't have been generations and generations and generations of so much animosity. Imagine that, just talking to each other. So we all have a story. There are people out there that want to help. You've had people want to help you and you've gotten the help, and I've had people want to help me and I've gotten the help. And we're helpers. You know, we have AHO Radio to help or guide or discuss. And that's what human beings do. You know, so we need to find ways to have civil discussion, I think, to solve some of these solutions, not only at a personal level, but at a societal and a global level. Time's come, Bill. You said it. You've been saying it a lot lately. Bill calls me up or he texts me a message and he'll go, John, the time is now. The world's screaming for discussion and dialogue and people being real. I got to tell you, Bill, I'm done. And it takes work. I'm done with all the fakeness anymore. It just, you know what? And I remember one time when you called me and you go, oh my gosh, it's been one of those days. And you said, I was talking to this guy and in 15 seconds, I knew what he was all about. And you were like, damn, I hate being so aware at times. Because, you know, we really want so bad to work with people. And we really want so bad to be liked. But I have a quote, and you're going to love this. And think about this. Anybody watching this, and this can be you because it is. If you like me, that is super cool. And if you don't like me, that's cool too. Because either way, I'm good with it and I'm grateful. You know, how can you, that's it. Be who you are. And don't worry about what anybody else thinks. So if you're listening out there, General Colin Powell, come on our show. You know, this is not a shout out to Colin Powell, you know, but anybody that wants to come and talk here about real things that are that affect real people, come on, come with us.
Absolutely.
Join us. We'd love to have you on here.
This AHO thing, this authentic human outliers thing, it's not a destination, you know, it's a process. And I love the fact that mission is a process. So we're the bridge, people. You know, this is not supposed to be the answer to everything. This is supposed to be the bridge from wherever you are to the next thing. And in this place of being a bridge, there's no toll. You don't have to pay, you know, to cross this. It isn't dangerous to cross the bridge. It isn't even dangerous to put one foot on it and say, hey, that looks like a pretty scary bridge. that's a part of it, man. And being authentic enough, being vulnerable enough to want to cross over is part of it. Just having that awareness. It changes everything. So, hey, the good news is, it changes everything. And the bad news is it changes everything, because you're not the same person as you were before you took the first step. And it's flipping scary, man. That first step is the hardest thing. And none of us here, like John, you and me, we're not perfect on this either. We've done some stuff and we've taken some steps, but it's just another step in the right direction to whatever ultimate authenticity looks like, whatever ultimate reality looks like, whatever is real, whatever that looks like today, that's going to change in the next 30 seconds to something else. I mean, look how fast coronavirus is changing our reality in the world. This is possible. Yeah, it's flipping scary, but it's also possible. And it's possible individually, but it's much easier together. It's much easier when somebody takes your hand and say, let's walk this bridge together. And that's the purpose here. If there's a mission, that's the purpose of AHO Radio, is to offer that hand and say, let's walk together, at least for a little while, and see where we go.
And thank you for that. So, those of you who are listening to this inaugural episode, if you will, join us. Reach out to us. We can reach out to you too. We will be. There's some people that we have on our radar. But, join us for real discussion. AHO Radio, Authentic Human Outliers, because everybody is an outlier. And they may not know it. They want to be themselves, no matter where you're at. Be an outlier and join us here. Thanks, Bill.
You said it, John. Love that, brother. Let's do this.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of AHO Radio. Information we mentioned is probably in the show notes, but if we missed anything, please let us know and we'll get it added for you. Subscribe to the AHO Radio channel on YouTube to stay connected, and as always, we wish you health, success, and significance. AHO!